welcome. We are going to make lime curd today. In this house, we absolutely love curds. They're generally speaking made with citrus. Lemon curd is probably the most common one that you're used to. We absolutely adore that as well in this house, I have to say. I have a very simple way of making my curds, and I learned this from the Women's Institute in Britain. And the reason it's fail-safe is because we actually do measure the juice and we measure the eggs. So we're not just going for it, and when we say large eggs, we all sort of choose which ones, or the juice of 4 to 5 limes, lemons, oranges, or whatever. We actually are going to take them both to 10 fluid ounces. That's half a pint in the UK, or just over that in America. So the other thing that I love, love, love about this recipe, having made lime curd at the start of my life using a double pan, is this is done in the microwave. So it is very easy to do, it's straightforward, and there's far less washing up. And it's a lot quicker. So let's crack on and actually start that going while I'm sorting out some other bits. So what we're going to start with doing is I use a great big, this is a 4-cup, 2-quart jug, glass, so we know it's microwavable. And we are going to start by putting everything into this minus the eggs. We're going to wait for the eggs to go in until we have actually dissolved the sugar and got everything going in there. And I literally am making this from scratch today. Nothing is pre-prepared with the exception of I've measured the sugar and the butter and already chopped it. So let's go for it. Let's pour our sugar in. It's worth seeing how much sugar goes in there, isn't it? That will definitely help you. And then what we're going to do is put our butter. It's unsalted butter, you don't need that. There we go, that is in there. And then we are going to get our 4 to 5 limes, and I'm going to use 5. And I try and pick ones with a really nice green peel on it. Brain dead. Do apologize, I have an absolutely awful cold today. So I'm running a little behind and fuzzy, but please forgive me, because I want that color to come through when I'm making the lime curd. So this is quite important that we're going to take a lime. Now I have one here, this side's looking not too bad, but this side isn't looking as rich and deep. So do think about that. And I have extra limes here, so actually I could pick and choose and it wouldn't really matter. Now, luckily I told you I've got a cold and my brain's not there because neither is my grater. So let me just get that out of the drawer and the lime juicer. That's going to help as well, isn't it? There we go. So I'm just going to use my grater and literally just take off the lime on the edges here and get that into, we strain it all at the end. So there will be no bits of peel, there will be no pips. If they should fall in, don't worry. And more importantly, there'll be no sort of globules of egg that hasn't mixed in properly and may well have cooked. So you want to make sure those come out, and the easiest way is to just get the whole thing cooked and then do it by straining it, which is what we will do. So we're just going to keep going here. Doesn't take, had I not been so woolly-headed this morning, I would have already done some limes for you. So here we go. And it's quite easy if you're not using too big a grater, and I am using the fine side. It gives me the ability to just take off that very outer layer. The white underneath any of your citrus fruits is the bitter part, especially important if you are making things like marmalade. Some people go just too far down because you want to keep the rind frequently in marmalade, and you end up with a really bitter marmalade. So it's not enjoyable to eat unless, of course, that's your taste buds. And as I always say, this is about you and not me. I want it to taste how you wish it to taste. That's why you really follow a recipe the first time and make notes. You know, I can tell somebody who cooks a lot when I'm getting their cookbooks and they've all got little notes in the side, maybe they made afterwards, and some might be scratched out and rewritten because you will adapt, and adapt. So it's quite good fun, really, this whole cooking world. If your limes are not organic, and sometimes it's good news to do it anyway, please do make sure you have got the wax off, because if you haven't, right now what you're doing is taking wax and the zest. Many citrus fruits, other fruits have wax on, because that makes them look shiny and clear and beautiful in the stores. So they're more about getting you to purchase than they are about your health. So the greatest respect to the stores, we have to actually protect ourselves. If you've taken the wax off, you will be able to feel that the lemon or the lime has a slightly different texture. It's not all so smooth. You actually want it to have texture. The skin of any citrus fruit does have texture. As soon as it's totally smooth, you know that's a beautiful layer of wax. So, and of course I'm doing citrus these days, this month I should say really, because citrus is really cheap. Certainly here in Texas it is, but it is the citrus time of year. And that's, whenever it is the time of year, that's the time for you to be making things. And obviously I made lemonade last week. You can make limeade. You can make orangeade. It would all work exactly the same way. You could make grapefruit aid. You can make grapefruit curd. I actually really like that. I'm a huge grapefruit fan. So I need to add the juice from these limes into here, but the beauty of this recipe, and believe me, I have used it for years. I would hate to tell you how many years. It was probably 20 plus, maybe 30 years, is we're going to measure our juice. So we're actually going to go and make sure we have 10 fluid ounces. And the reason I literally specify that is only because fluid or pints are different here in the States to UK, so it varies. Here we go. We want 10 fluid ounces in here. So we're doing quite well. Now, normally I would measure to 10, and then I'm going to mix it all in and get it going. But because we're doing this from scratch today to literally show you, one, how to do it, two, how quick it really is, I am going to actually stop at 5 fluid ounces and start it in the microwave while I get the next 5 ounces done. So that beeping is the oven telling me that my son's pizza is ready. So not only am I ill today, I also have my redhead, who's a sophomore here at school, ill. So I will also have to quickly deal with that. So I don't know where he is. Clearly I'm making this wait up. Here he comes. He's going to take it out himself. He clearly doesn't want a burnt pizza. okay, you're not on the screen, you're fine. And this is 5. And look at that, that was all the limes. So they did not have a lot of juice in them. And that's why it's quite important when we are doing this to measure. And that's how curds frequently go wrong. And I know this myself. So let me put this in the microwave for 2 minutes and get it melting down while we do the next limes to get fire. There we go. Right, I'm going to keep going with the limes. And interestingly, I'm going to take the last bit off there. I know I don't need any more. Oops. Oh, that was a nice one. I love it when we're getting lots and lots of juice out. Make sure it was all out because I'm like, oh, all this juice. Although these are, but apart from the fact that I went in my eye, and it is quite painful. There we go. We are doing very well. So my neighbours today are going to end up with lime curd. Very useful having neighbours that are so nice and happy to eat all these extra things that I make. And we are nearly there. I think that's up next half and we will be done. There we go. Remember, we wanted 10 fluid ounces, and that is now what we have. So, very good. That's another 5 there. I don't need all of these. We'll just get rid of those. Let me just grab a tea towel there, put on my apron as well. So, we are going to just take this out because it doesn't matter there. I'm going to add in the last of my lime juice and I'm going to stir it so that I'm mixing all the butter down, the zest, juice and sugar. And I didn't bother stirring it to start with, more because I wanted to get the rest of the juice and keep the presentation flowing. When you're doing it at home, obviously, work to the method that works for you in your kitchen. All I want is everybody back in the kitchen. So it needs to be your way, not my way. Let's put those back in. Okay, so while those ingredients are all being microwaved again, I'm just going to actually put all the eggs into a jug and mix them up so that when I add them in a moment, and I won't add them until the sugar has fully melted, that's what I'm waiting for. And when I take it out in a moment, I'll show you my method of checking whether the sugar has melted or not. So I want it all melted before I add the grain. Now I compost my eggshells. What I tend to always do is put them in kitchen towel because that's brilliant in the compost as well. And I always crunch them slightly, maybe not over the eggs. I crunch them because that is important. It just I've learned the hard way that if I don't, there's still whole eggshells when we're coming to tip it out. Crunching them up actually allows them to break down a lot more quickly. So I'm just going to slightly move this back and see if you're seeing more of me and more. That's better, isn't it? Sorry, I should have noticed that before. So we're doing well there. And I am just going to get a fork from my kitchen drawer. And when I'm whipping eggs up, the movement I tend to do is this. So it's lifting it up. So the fork's coming down and up. And it will also take some through the prongs of the fork, and it makes sure the yolks and the whites are combined. And that's what you want. So there we go. So that is now ready to go as well. Let's get our here we go. So that's turning into a nice color as well. So the way I'm going to clean off the sides of my pan, make sure there's nothing there. I'm obviously using my last lick here. And then I'm going to swirl it up onto the sides and let it come down. And then when I look at the sides, does it have grains in it? And that's what you're looking for. Are there some grains of sugar still there? Or is it actually smooth? And this is smooth. I can obviously see some of the zest, but nothing else. So what I'm going to do now is pull the egg in and mix it. There we go. I'm going to mix that all the way through. And now I'm going to microwave in 1 minute bursts until this is all nicely mixed. And then I'm going to do it in 30-second bursts, so I do not overcook the curd. So let's get this in again for a minute. There's 3 seconds on there. Now I can do a little bit of tidying up while I'm here. There we go. Knives I tend to always leave out of the fridge sink, which I'm not doing very well today. Just in case someone puts their hands straight into the sink, you don't want them cutting themselves. So always leave knives to the side so that you are able to clean them, see them, and nobody's actually going to end up with no fingers, because that really isn't any good at all. I need to be getting my strainer out so that I'm ready to pour the lemon curd through it. And then my jars are in the oven here. So they've all been cleaned. And what I then do with them, once they're clean, is just keep them to one side. But when I need them again, I always bring them back up to sterilizing them. So they're now in a hot oven, and I'm going to get those out fairly soon. That was 1 minute. We're technical as 1 minute and 3 seconds, but that's because I still, for some reason, had 3 seconds in the microwave. Here we go. So I've mixed it all in, and hopefully you can see it's got a lovely color going here. Partly the egg yolks. That's why lemon curd looks so amazing, because the egg yolks add to the lemon, the yellow, I should say. So another minute there, and let's get our colander out. Nothing goes smoothly when you want it to. I just tell you that. Have colander, we'll be happy. And then I know what I need is my 2-pint measuring jug. I know that actually it will go into here very nicely. And we're going to turn the oven off now so that it, there we go, the jars start cooling down slightly for me to touch them. Oh, keep feeling like I'm going to sneeze. This is not a good cold for sure. Let me have a little drink of coffee. And here comes our lemon curd. No, lime curd. You can tell I made lemon curd recently, can't you? There we go. And there are some lumps, just a few of the egg in here, but don't worry, because we're going to put it through the strainer, and that is going to get rid of all of the bits and pieces. So here we go. So it is nicely mixed. It's unfortunate I have a cold because actually I can't smell it, and I expect it does actually smell really nice. So I'm going to get that back in again and give it another minute. And I think after that we're likely to be at 30-second bursts. So it will then give us time to just make sure we don't overdo it. And it will fully set when it's cold. So we're not trying to get it to the thickness we expect it to be when we actually eat it. It will be slightly runnier than that, but we do need it to have thickened, and you'll be able to see that as we go. So nearly there. Let's see what our jars are doing as well. I've got more jars than I need, but I tend to do that as well, just in case. You're never quite sure. So, and here we go. Nicely mixed. Just making sure I've put it in again. I am trying to show you from scratch how long, I don't know how long this has been running now. It might be telling me on the record button if I look a little closer. But the point is that it doesn't take long to make your own fresh curds, jams, marmalades, and they're just so much healthier for you. You know exactly what's gone in. Curds do have eggs in, so you are going to keep them in the fridge. We're not going to just put them in the pantry, larder, cupboard. We're going to keep them in the fridge. And I personally make sure they're eaten within 3 weeks. I just think that is a very good rule of thumb. You will see that there's different requirements out there, if you like. People have different views on it. But trying to keep them in this house 3 weeks actually is trickier. People will keep going. Eating them, they love them. They love it on toast, they like them in jam tarts, they like it just on fresh bread. In actual fact, I think they would just, and most probably do, eat it straight out of the jar with a teaspoon. But that would not be in their interest to show me them doing that. I just have to hope I brought them up well enough to use clean teaspoons each time. Here we go. Even through the cold, actually, I'm starting to smell it, so it is doing well. It's obviously got a really good smell going right now. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking that I didn't show you it was 10 fluid ounces of eggs. I'm thinking here. Can't say I'm enjoying this cold at all. So there we go. I don't know why it's not showing me how many participants. There we go. I have to move cursor so I know that. It's a little weird that I just see the word curry, by the way, across my screen. Laurie's in the other room making sure she can answer any of your questions. So do ask, it's fine, and then she can also let me know so that I could answer them as well during the presentation. We aim to do these every Tuesday, 11 o'clock not Mountain Time, Central Time. That's why I thought Mountain Time. So Central Time, Tuesdays. But certainly always check on our Facebook page, Tamzin Cochrane, the food activist, and that will let you know what our next presentation is. It's also, they are listed on my website, so you would be able to see everything that's coming up for the next month under Zoom sessions. So it would show you my webinars, and it would show you these live cooking. Now this is getting much thicker now, so I'm only going to do 30 seconds again because I'm getting very close and I don't want to overdo it. There we go. And what we can do is get the jars out while we are waiting. And when I take the jars out, I always put them on the hob. And the reason I do that is because clearly it is heat. I was going to say repellent. But they can go on there and they're not going to burn anything while they cool down. And it's very easy to clean it as well. So putting the jars onto there and then filling them up there also makes it very easy. No surprise that I managed to talk for 30 seconds instead of get the jars out. Here we go. Ooh, that is, I think, very nice. We're going to do another 30 seconds. I'm getting very close to cooling this. And when I cool it, it will be because when I put it onto the spoon and turn it that way, it still coats it a bit like that. We're going to give it another 30 seconds, and I will change to a wooden spoon just because you'll be able to see it a lot more easily than on the last lick here that happens to have, you know, a lime background. So let's get the wooden spoon ready and let's get the jars out. Now remember, they're going to be hot, so just lift them up carefully. Do not put anything inside, so don't go and pick them up by stuffing the tea towel or things inside, because these will not be fully clean. It doesn't matter even if you just took them out of the drawer. So then you're unsterilizing the jars, so we don't want to do that. We desperately want to make sure, especially when you're using curds which do have egg in, we want to make sure I'm so sorry. It's cold. It's getting to me. There we go. Nice. So what we're going to do is, I'm just mixing it all around. I need the bottom to the top to the bottom, vice versa. And now, if you look, I lift it up. I'll take it off. But do I have a wooden spoon that is fully coated? You might be able to see that better on the back. Obviously, it's hot, so I'm going to use this one and show you. I'm hoping you can see that. So it's fully coated, and I've managed to make a line down the back, and I just used my last lick, and it's holding, which tells me actually it is thick enough. So that is where you want it to get to. So now what I do is take my other jug, take my strainer, and literally pour it in. Now, I'll get those last bits out in a moment. Oh. And I'm just going to use my last lick to come down the side, release the edge of the strainer from the zest and the egg. And sometimes pips, I don't always use the lime squeezer. I sometimes use my old-fashioned one. It was in my family when I was a child. I love it. And that can mean that I end up with some pips in here as well. So Let me, there we go. So I can now just make sure it's all off from this side. And you can see what's in there is literally the lime zest and bits of egg. So we're happy to just put that down. But obviously I can still see there's a little bit more in here and I want it out. Even for the sake of this, I want it out. So I'm able to just put that straight into here. There we go, it's going to come in now. I can put that down. Get that last little bit out. There we go. Now I can move. I'll take what's on the edge off. There we go. I'm going to move this all into there. And now I have it fully strained in here, and I can literally just pour it from the jug in, which is one of the reasons why I use the jug. It makes it very easy. I'm not having to now use a funnel. I'm not adding to my washing up. I'm not adding to anything. So it is so much easier. And there you go. It's very little in there, so I am actually going to just top up each of these. And I can, actually let's get a clean last lick just to make it easier for us. So my idea of healthy is that you're cooking it yourself. I'm not trying to say don't have, chocolate or sugar. But I'm just saying if you make things yourself, then what actually happens is you know how much is in it. There's no preservatives, no chemicals, nothing. And look, we have got 4 jars there of lime curd. Absolutely delicious. Thank you very much for watching today. And I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday.